Thank you very much, gentlemen. Great cast on the day. I am joined by Smithy as he was roaming around in the jungle, just cleaning himself off after their victory over NRG. I gotta say, it was a pretty scary game. Fans may have kind of been watching from behind some hands. What were the expectations coming in here? Because it feels like some may have been missed, some may have been met. How is CLG feeling approaching this game?
We didn't really expect NRG to be that good because it was really too close for comfort for us. We didn't expect them to run that team comp like game 2. I feel like that was like the most fun team comp that I've ever seen. So like you can just run over everyone and have Vladimir's like 11 seconds of CC or invulnerability or something.
And when you see things like that, actually, is it something that CLG would even take under their wing, then the Xerath as much as well? Or does it have to fit the comp, fit the style, and the timeline that the team is working with?
Yeah, I think Malzar's weakness is against poke. So I think that's why they wanted to go against like a pokey champion. And yeah, I like Xerath. Like I think Xerath is pretty underrated. I don't want to say that word.
He didn't say it.
But yeah, I think they played really well that game. We almost lost a couple team fights, but it was pretty close.
All right, 2 more questions for you. Looking at last split and even the performance at MSI, things usually go up and have been a lot better for Chronologic Gaming. Now in the summer split, there seems to be a bit of turmoil. Can you put any words to that? Is CLG kind of catching up to metas? Is it communication? What seems to be that issue?
I think the meta in MSI was way different than it is right now.
Yeah.
It's mainly focused on mid lane, so it's kind of hard because like everyone wants to go mid lane and like even support, top lane, jungle, so it's really hard when to go. And I think that's like our main weakness is just to not be there enough for Jay or Hui. And yeah, I think that's what we're working on right now.
And final question, Smithy. It's the same team that was at MSI. You guys have been to that pinnacle of experience. You've shown the play. Can CLG return to that form before playoffs, before you guys get to that point?
Hopefully.
All right, fantastic. Smithy, thank you very much for the interview. Best of luck in the rest of the matches. And we're going to throw it to the analyst desk to break that down.
Thank you very much, Riv. CLG able to pick up the match victory today against NRG in a 3-game series. Now, this third game also didn't come easily for CLG, right? I mean, we see them in a deficit and having to just very much outplay their opponent in a macro game in order to get back into it.
Yeah, we got to outplay to win.
I mean, it is kind of.
Well, I just mean in the sense that like they have.
They have to work.
Yeah, it wasn't like we were beating them in lane and then we had a good map movement. It was like, oh, our bot lane's getting pooped on, and we need to like move around the map and outplay them.
They have to put on their thinking, their macro caps, and kind of think about how to actually win it.
Yeah, that's what I said. Why did we just go in a circle?
Crumbs is being difficult.
We literally just went in a circle, Crumbs, to get back to the very first thing I said in this segment. All right, moving on. Champion select. Let's look at this one. We got the Xerath coming back in again as the answer to Malzahar. Not successful for a second game here. I mean, I know Jat talked a little bit about the reasons why this might be. Malzahar being nerfed in terms of range and movement speed makes him a little bit more susceptible to the early game pressure that a Xerath can put out through poke, but it doesn't quite seem to be the answer.
No, I think I like more what I've seen out of Zilean, and we know that GBM has one, so I would have liked to see that. I think it was up. Yeah, it was up. So I think that's a comp that you think they'd be comfortable running.
Yeah.
I think it still works with the Maokai and the Hecarim. You speed people in, you ult them. So I think the Xerath may be a little bit too much of a comfort focus.
This would have been a beast Zilean comp.
Yeah, that's what I'm
saying.
Important to note, game 1, CLG did ban Zilean.
Yeah.
He chose Xerath. Game 3, they did not, and he does not pick it. You're exactly right. Zilean may have been a perfect fit here, and we might look at some examples that'll illustrate that even further. If we do jump right into it, CLG doesn't really find their way back into the game until 30 minutes in. A 2 for 0 in the mid lane, plus our starting round Baron going to get themselves a mid-tier 2 on top of it all.
Yeah, and it starts with NRG trying to force around this Baron. They have been struggling to really get much done, despite the fact that they had what should have been a bigger lead in the early game, but like we said, the map movements were tough. And then we see a lot of snipes from GBM, but he's not actually able to finish anybody out. And then Santorin ends up kind of in the middle of the team, just gets face lasered and goes down right away. And then from there, it's a pretty easy fight for CLG.
Well, the big problem is that remember that they split themselves up across the Baron, and while Xerath has a lot of range, you can't leave him that far behind. When you're Maokai and Hecarim, who are so much faster, just just go all the way past him, and he can't even connect the max range of his Q, you kind of know you've went too far. And that seems to be a big problem with some of these lower teams where they spread themselves too far, where the front line is way too far and the back line can't dish out DPS. Because the whole point of CC, you want CC on top of damage. You don't just want CC.
Now, eventually, we did see CLG move to that 4-1, pressure game, throwing the Gnar into a side lane, using that to dance around the Baron and global objectives. So 37 minutes in, CLG is going to pick up a couple of kills, and inhib and a Baron. So huge influx of gold for them.
Well, right here, NRG has to respond with the starting off the Baron. They want to answer the split push in this way, but already GVM super chunked in. As soon as the engage happens, again, they're so spread out. You have 2 guys going in 2v4. It's not going to go well. And all that they have to do is just kite back, survive with Soraka, which Xerath into Soraka does not look a lot of fun.
We see the TP used there to kind of create that zone, that impassable zone for the backline. It ends up getting canceled because just the zoning of it, it's won the fight, and then he's able to keep the pressure on the inhib.
What's interesting too is you think NRG probably could have tried to wrap around and look for some poke to try and push them off this Baron, but they don't even go for it. I think it's worth the risk at this point in the game where you're definitely losing an inhib. If you can stop the Baron, then you might have a chance.
You still have Ashe hold up.
You have the chance to win this game, but the fact that they just stand here and watch the Baron get taken and go for a steal attempt instead is very curious to me, because now that they have Baron and inhib down and the gold lead, you really can't expect to win. Smithy kind of goes over, tries to pick a fight, and the rest flash over. And it gets a little scrappy here, where I think Afro goes down as well. But you see just the fact that they're able to even trade that way. It makes you think that
kills there.
With a Baron backing you up, you might have been in a better spot. So it's definitely a little bit of a head-scratching moment.
I agree 100% that was a misplay by NRG on the back end of a lost fight, to not just even make a decision where we're either going to contest or just all 3 back and maybe try and defend the inhib. But you didn't do either. You got punished for it, losing both Baron and an inhib. So CLG able to pick up the victory in 44 minutes, but not as clean as they'd like. And I think that's kind of the story here for both of our top tier teams, our playoff teams in Team Liquid and CLG. They don't look great today. At least CLG came away with the victory, whereas Apex was victorious over Team Liquid, but neither of them looked clean. And it's very, very likely that they'll be playing against each other in that 4-5 matchup.
Yeah, I mean, heading into playoffs, when you're fighting for the 3rd seed and you're struggling against people who are 7th seed or below, potentially, that is just not a good sign for either of these teams. I mean, it's nice that CLG basically secures themselves 3-4. I don't think there's any way left now that they don't finish at least tied with TL, and then they have the tiebreaker as well. So but even with all that, you're not like happy about it.
Well, to be honest, I don't think it's going to go that poorly for them as we go into the playoffs, because ultimately we have seen this stuff in the past, and the mistake that both these teams made were rather uncharacteristic. Like, Afro giving first blood to Kiwi Kid, wouldn't have expected that one. Or like Dardox pathing around, doing Gromp when Baron's up, that kind of stuff. It's just things that you don't really expect to see when the stakes are a lot higher, as opposed to you're already qualified.
Well, but that's the hope, right? Is that when the stakes are higher, that they won't make those mistakes. They'll have the presence of mind to operate smoothly in those situations. Player of the game going to Darshan here. This is really just about the pressure game. Also got a Quadra kill to end the game, but having that split push pressure on the Gnar is key.
I mean, we talked a little bit about how CLG's macro game was able to hold them in it despite the fact that they were getting smashed kind of bot lane. And there's a large part of it is having that Gnar, because you have the pressure in the top side. It frees you up to move around. If you had a losing matchup top side and you weren't playing it well, then you're just totally screwed because you have nothing going for you. But he was kind of the bright spot.
He also did get that freebie of let's counter ourselves with the Maokai into the Gnar and lose lane, and now give him a win condition.
Yeah, but they banned the Alawi. What else is there?
Aurelia. yes, very much the Aurelia. Alrighty, well, that's going to do it for our first series, but stay with us when we return. Cloud9 takes to the stage for their match against Echo Fox. We'll be right back.
All right, come on, guys. One more win. I don't want to be 9th place. 9th place suck.
All right, let's win one game.
We're back to last split, guys. Best of ones. Our time to shine.
Without flash, here comes the knockup for Xmithy, trading back in towards Afro. Pop stealer to stay alive. That's going to be the kill picked up. Soraka. Nice. They just tackle Santorin. Look at the damage of it. They picked off the Hecarim already, and now the team is re-engaged. Darshan is here. Megadon's going to pick up Quas, but be careful.
I'm on Hecarim.
Yeah, I stun Hecarim.
High back. You guys got it.
Yep.
Hecarim's dead.
Maokai.
Oh, Maokai.
Go Maokai.
I got him. Watch out, arrow.
I'm watching.
Watch the backline.
But now the CC is in. It's the tackle for Megadon. Look at the damage of what they've got, and it's going to be Santorin trying to turn things around. Quas putting the damage, running back to the fountain, gets knocked up. Counter Logic Gaming take a hard fought victory over NRG Esports.